Merenia, thank you so much for joining us this morning. This is the rescheduled LinkedIn Live for Ask the Expert series. And we have the wonderful Merenia Marin, who is from Work+Stay and also Settlement Services International. And she's going to tell you a bit more about the work she does and the work the organizations do. This is particularly for engineers, IT professionals and accountants, but you're going to say something, but what are you going to say?
Look, I think there'll be value in this for anybody that's considering a move to a regional community.
Yeah.
And any migrant and any.
Perfect. But yeah, anyone else who's considering moving to a regional Australia or a regional community, there's going to be a lot of information that's going to be helpful for you here. So yeah, please tell us about yourself, Merenia. What do you do at the two organizations and what is their missions, their objectives?
Yeah, okay. So I'm the community engagement and partnerships lead for Work+Stay. Work+Stay is regionally focused recruitment and with wraparound settlement support. Work+Stay is an initiative of Settlement Services International. Settlement Services International is a social business with a lot of strong expertise around multicultural service delivery. We're one of the largest settlers of refugees in Australia. We have a whole host of programs from out-of-home care, multicultural foster care, employment programs, all kinds of sort of social programs. Work+Stay is one of these social enterprises. That was the vision of our CEO, Violet Remiliotis. And we've been plugging away at this regional challenge for about 2 to 3 years now. We've been working on that. So what Work+Stay does is we assist people to find work in a regional community, and then we provide them with wraparound support so that they can settle and that they can be retained in that community so they don't experience social isolation, so that they're culturally safe. We've done a really deep dive into the sort of challenges that migrants face. At the moment, our main focus is civil engineering, IT, and finance roles. So we're working on those three those are the sort of jobs that we're recruiting. We're recruiting at the moment into about 30 regional councils, I'd say. We're dealing with about 30 regional councils. And I've created 17 what we call community welcome partnerships, which is where we have our welcome ambassadors, people that are in the community that are sympathetic to the plight of newcomers, not the plight, but the challenges that newcomers face, and that provide that one-to-one contact, provide them with they share their networks, so they're effectively the social front door for a newcomer, which is so important because we know that people will move to a community for a job, but they'll stay for a community, and that sense of feeling welcome. So in addition to that, I also do some work in workforce attraction and retention as a consultant. I work with Projects JSA under Jack Archer, and we have just completed a workforce attraction and retention strategy for the Namoi region. We've done a couple of other strategies as well in Parkes and in Marin, but the Namoi region, which is Gwydir, Liverpool Plains, Gunnedah, Tamworth and Walker, so those 5 LGAs, finding ways, it's a strategy, finding ways for them to attract the workers they need to grow those communities and then get them to stay.
I love that. So I'm going to back up just for a second for anyone who is listening. And I guess Merenia and I are talking because we understand the challenges that regional areas of Australia have in terms of language. So you might have seen a lot of information about the skills shortage in Australia, but in regional areas or LGAs, so that'll be a local government area, that it's much more challenging, isn't it? So would you like to just explain a little bit about your average challenges for a regional area, what that would be?
Okay, so I think it's coming up. It's it's over 80,000 jobs
I researched my
available.
stat, it is like 80,500 and something to write the
Yeah.
number, and that's what I researched. Yeah.
Yeah, unfilled across the regions. Now that's everything from somebody working at a cafe to, you know, a scientist or a surgeon. So regional communities have, a lot of them are really struggling to find the healthcare people, the healthcare staff that they need, to find the engineering talent they need. Regional communities are on the front line of climate change.
Yeah.
And are really experiencing a lot of the effects of the initial effects that we're starting to have come online now. That's why we're focused on civil engineering talent. I think across the regions, there's something like 30,000 jobs unfilled just in engineering.
Yeah.
Actually, that might be across Australia. So there's deficits in. There's not enough. I shouldn't say jargon. There's not enough workers. The ones that really hit home is healthcare, obviously. Healthcare, aged care, trades like just to build housing, all the trades, a lot of professional services. There's huge deficits, and even in hospitality, things like that. There seems to be a perception in metropolitan areas and city areas that there aren't jobs out in the regions, and it couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah.
So often we find somebody will move to a regional area for a job, but the rest of their family will all be able to get jobs as well.
Yeah.
Agriculture value add jobs, agricultural-based jobs, IT. I don't know if I mentioned IT is another one. It's kind of, you name it, they need it.
Yeah.
But then there are still challenges, even though there's this huge deficit, there's still challenges around workers that are coming in from metro areas being able to actually secure those roles.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm going to ask you. So quick question: with the 80,000 jobs, are they only jobs that are advertised?
No, it might be 80,000 jobs advertised, or I need to check that statistic. But it may be just advertised roles, but there's probably hidden.
That's what I'm going to ask you. Yeah.
Hidden workforce deficits as well.
Yeah. So basically, what I was going to ask is, I researched 80,000 jobs, and it was a quick Google search. I won't pretend there's anything more here, but the other jobs, so I always talk about the hidden job market, but what Work+Stay do, correct me if I'm wrong, is actually go and speak to the councils and find out the skills that they need, and then go back to your clients and then, secure work for them. So
yeah,
there's a lot of other jobs available.
We have a client relationship manager, a gentleman called Andrew Eady. He's often out in the regions, and he's going around. Primarily, we're working with councils. We figure that as a social impact enterprise, the best way we can help the community is to ensure that they have that the council has what they need, because that's kind of the hub of the community. And so he looks at their workforce deficit and works with them. And then we look at our talent pool, and we also go to market and find people that we need.
Perfect.
We work alongside Engineers Australia as well. And we're just starting to sort of build. We just recently did a project this year with 7 universities in Victoria, looking at their graduating students from their master's program and their PhD program in engineering, and looking at how we can connect those people in engineering, IT and finance, how we can connect those people who are newly graduated, a lot of them with offshore experience. Yes. They might have done 6 or 7 years, 8 years in working as an engineer, and then come to Australia and done their masters. Yeah.
So this is what I'm going to ask you now. It's about, so we understand the needs of the employers in the regions, but we also know there's some challenges there. So I have been connected with Work+Stay since almost the beginning. And I often, if I speak to someone, I would pass on your details to them. But many of them are a little bit unsure. They say, I'm not sure about the regions. I like Sydney, blah, blah, blah. They just don't feel like regional Australia is a good place to live for whatever reason that might
Yeah.
be. Right? I live in regional Australia. I live very close to Sydney. It's about a 2-hour drive from Sydney. So I understand how important community is. Unfortunately, I perhaps haven't met my community here, but can you tell us exactly what you do to make sure that you are not just flinging them into a regional area in a farm? Because I think that's the stereotype. Yeah, it's going to be in a farm. And so can you tell us a little bit more about some of the
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the regions, it's not just one big farm out there, okay? It's really not. You've got regional hubs that have the same amenities as a city with just a slightly smaller population.
Yep.
You've got sort of satellite towns that sit outside of those regional hubs, which can be really lovely. Look, the cost of living is going to be less.
Yeah.
Your rent is likely to be 1/3. If you've got some money and you're looking at getting into the housing market, to buy a home is going to be 1/3 of the cost. There are so many people that are locked out of the housing market in city areas, out in the regions. There's a lot of properties for sale, beautiful properties, a lot of them, and they're so much cheaper. So it allows a lot of people starting their lives and starting their families to get an asset base happening and start to build from there.
Yeah.
It can be tricky at times in certain regional areas to find rental accommodation. Okay, there's not a lot of rental accommodation there, but it's patchy. There are some places where there's nothing, and there's some places where there's quite a bit, and there's a lot that are in the middle. If you are on a PR pathway, it can be to your benefit to move to a regional area. It can increase your points. The lifestyle itself, you're looking at possibly a one-song commute. Okay, and even if you might be working in a regional hub like Wagga or Dubbo or something like that, and then you can live 20, 30 minutes out of town in a beautiful rural location, and your commute, you don't have the tolls, you don't have all of the aggro drivers and all of the road rage, which I deal with living in Western Sydney. It really is a much nicer lifestyle. It's a lot better for families in some ways. Now, it's not going to be the same. It's not the same sort of social opportunities that you're going to have in a city area, particularly if you're from a diverse background. But one thing I want to make clear is that the regions are very diverse. There is a perception that once you get past the Blue Mountains, there's no brown people or very few. It's not true.
Yeah.
Okay, they are very diverse. Regional communities, I notice in my work, they're naturally collaborative. They're naturally, and they are very welcoming. So what we do is I go out when we start recruiting into a community, I go out and I map that community. I get an idea of exactly what's on the ground that a newcomer would need. I map all the service organisations. I map all the existing multicultural community stuff that's there, the service delivery for them. I look at healthcare, childcare, and obviously accommodation, temporary accommodation. I look at rental stuff. And then what we do, we have a settlement team, and we meet with the candidate once they've been accepted into a job, and we look at all of their needs moving forward,
including family needs.
Sorry,
including families' needs as well.
Including the family's needs. If you're moving, because nothing will drag somebody out of a community like a miserable family.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So it has to be holistic. It has to be a wraparound solution.
Yeah.
So what we do is we look at all of their needs, and then we create a relocation plan for them. We prior to that, once I've mapped the regional community, I go in and I look for a community partner. Our community partners can be multicultural service organisations. They can be Rotary clubs. We are partnering in Warren, New South Wales with a organisation called River Smart, who is like an ecological organisation that try to save the wetlands and the rivers in that area.
Yep.
We're partnering in Brewarrina. We partner with the local Aboriginal Land Council there. So we look for a community partner. And then what we do is we say to them, this is our model of welcome. This is what we know our newcomers are going to need. And so we train them and onboard them in what we need from them to welcome newcomers. But we also have great respect because they're the experts on their community. And we have great respect for their knowledge and the way they do things. So we kind of reach a strong sort of amicable understanding of what the community welcome will be like for the newcomers. And then when the newcomer comes, they have a welcome ambassador that's assigned to them. That welcome ambassador will sometimes meet them on arrival or a few days later. They catch up, they have a coffee. They're that person's go-to in the community, so that you're not waiting for 6 months for someone to say hello to you at the supermarket.
Absolutely. I love that. And
it might be like your kids might play soccer. You might need to know who's the guy. How can I enroll my kids in soccer? How can I, how can I join a play group? All that kind of thing. What we're looking for is ways for the person to become functional and included in the community. And we monitor that quite a lot. Like I'm checking in regularly with the newcomer. I'm checking in with the welcome ambassador. And we're really monitoring those first early months to make sure that that person has all that they need to feel welcome and included, because that's what's going to drive people out of, to bounce back into the city.
100%. And so just from what I'm listening to here from Merenia is that they put a Work+Stay with Settlement Services International as their kind of umbrella organization, put a lot of work and effort into making sure that you, if you move to a regional area, feel welcome, included, safe, able to actually have a really great life there. And the reason they're doing that is because they need your skills in that area. They need you to do the work that you can do, the work that you are struggling to find in Sydney or Melbourne right now, because it's just, harder to get a job there. They really need you to use the professional skills that you have from overseas in that area. And they're doing a lot to make sure that you stay. Is that right?
Well, that is true. And then at the same point, we're promoting to our clients out in the regions, the people we're recruiting for, that when you say yes to migrants, you're saying yes to global perspectives. You're saying yes to people that have probably had experience in several countries. Look, if I was 20 years younger and new to this country, like I'm originally from New Zealand, I would head to the regions. There's something. Look, it depends. It's all individual. Okay, everyone's completely different. We also look at things like, you might be in an area, we map all of the cultural and religious services and things that you might need. We look at where are the mosques, where are the temples, how long is it going to take you to get there if you're living here, so that we make sure that the placement is sustainable. There's no point, if somebody's quite a devout person, there's no point putting them somewhere where the nearest mosque is 9 hours away. Do you know what I mean? We do a lot of work on the profile of the client, of the candidate, to make sure that it's a good fit. Nobody ever moves until they have accommodation and they have somewhere to live.
Perfect.
So,
So let's talk about the jobs in that case. So I know a lot of engineers. So there's a lot of engineers struggling to secure work. In Sydney, Melbourne, there are lots of jobs available for civil engineers. However, one of the common restrictions, one of the common barriers is that the bigger companies in Sydney and Melbourne say you don't have local experience. So they want them to have local experience, which obviously is hard to get local experience until you get a job.
Local experience.
Absolutely. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible, because I've also had clients who have got a job being new to Australia, but generally that is the concern and the barrier that people face.
It is a frustration. Totally. Especially when
you same in the regions, or
It can be like that in the regions, but we do a lot of work. Our recruitment process is not the same as a standard recruiter.
Mhm.
We do a lot of work through the recruitment experience and a lot of advocacy. Like if we're looking at somebody who's worked in Dubai and Sri Lanka and Jordan, or for example, and then they come here and they say, "Oh, he's got no or she's got no local experience." Like it is different. Things are done differently, but um, we have ways where we're working with councils, we're building those relationships and building that trust with the council to say, look, let's look at the transferable skills.
Yeah.
Because people always say they look at transferable skills, but they don't really. It's having that advocacy in the recruitment process to say, look, this person's, you're gonna, they've done the work. Not only that, but I think you really need that extra advocacy through the recruitment space. It can be a little bit too much to bite off more than they can chew just to send your resume and apply for jobs. So I encourage any engineers to go on our website and register with us. Look at the jobs that we have available. It can take time to get people into roles.
Yeah.
We have some roles where we've been recruiting for the same role for about 2 months, and we're waiting for them to sign off. You know what I mean? But we are so we are at the mercy sometimes of the client, which is the employer. But we have a whole team of people that are advocating specifically for the candidates in that space. And not only that, but we sort of, now that we're up to sort of 30 regional councils, we sort of really know where the curveballs are coming from.
Challenges are from. And I guess that's what makes you very different from, your average recruitment agency, whereas that you have an entire team that's focused on holistic, settlement process, as well as just getting you the job and ticking the box, and that's you gone. So there's a lot more involved as well. So what would you say? So I know how many people are possibly not open to moving to regional Australia, but something needs to change for them. The cost of living, the rental crisis, really struggling to get a job in their field, even though that they have the skills from back home. They're working in hospitality or as cleaning, and they have a family. For example, right?
7-Eleven, every 7-Eleven I go to, usually on the counter is an engineer.
Yeah, right. I know. Underemployment is just huge in Australia, as you know. So someone who's in that situation, who is really struggling in Sydney, say, or Melbourne, and just want something to change in Australia. They want the job, they want the stability for their family, but they haven't really thought about moving to a regional area because they didn't know what it was like, or they're a bit scared of the isolation. What would you say to them?
I would say to them, look, it's a feature of the labour market, that a lot of regional labour market, that a lot of people that are migrating, coming to Australia, will go out into the regions for 3 to 4 years or so, get some local experience under their belt, and then possibly come back to a city, or life happens and they stay.
Yeah.
I would just say that it's a less competitive job market out there. There's still challenges, but with an agency like us, we're built for those challenges.
Yeah.
It's going to be a cheaper cost of living. There's going to be a quieter. You might be somebody that is more happy in a quieter area than in a city area. But there will be some trade-offs. You're not in the city. You're not gonna have everything that you need. But in the city, you're paying like sometimes $700 for a 2-bedroom apartment or a 1-bedroom studio.
At least, yeah.
Out in the regions, I've got people that are paying $300 for a 4-bedroom house with air conditioning, and you know what I mean? It is varied, but you're gonna be able to get some money behind you. And what I find too is a lot of the time the the employer will invest in the newcomer, because if you're going to stay there and you turn up and you've got a good work ethic and you kind of know what you're doing, there's a lot of opportunities for career expansion and upskilling and moving into management roles and things like that. So yeah, I would absolutely look at the regions. I personally think, I don't know how people in metro areas renting, it's impossible. Like, it is so difficult. I was in the city the other day and there was an open house for a rental place and there was a big line all down the street. There was looked like 70 people for one apartment.
And it was hard, like, before we left Sydney. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my story before I ask a quick question.
Yeah.
I actually live in a regional area. So we moved from Sydney to Maitland, which is in the Hunter Valley region of New South Wales. It's maybe about half an hour from Newcastle, which is, another big area. And it's about 2 hours from Sydney. So we've been here about 4 years. We came here for my partner's job, but we were already thinking about leaving Sydney because of the rental, the cost of living, and it was just the commutes were just getting crazy long and really stressful for me. We bought a house for probably less than a quarter of what you would pay in outer Sydney, not even middle CBD Sydney or a good area. You're talking like, Western Sydney, Eastern Sydney, near the airport. It was a fixer-upper for sure, but we're on the housing market right now. We do not even know much about the rental crisis in the city. Jobs are available if you're open-minded, but that's not a problem for you because Work+Stay would help you. I think one of the stereotypes is that it's a farm, as I said, is that there's nothing to do. And I probably had that stereotype in my head as well. And I remember when one of my friends first came to see us, she said, "Oh, I'm quite surprised." And she didn't expect there to be so much to do. So, on our street, we have maybe 3 coffee shops. We've got an Italian restaurant, a Filipino restaurant, a Thai restaurant. We've got a pub which has got a kids play area, things like that. And this isn't even the major district. And then you've got the maybe 10 minutes drive away. You've got even more. You've got the river. You're half an hour from the beach.
Oh.
So there's a lot to do. It's not just in the middle of nowhere. And
no.
I think if having a coffee shop and being able to nip out and get a coffee and say hi to someone who works there or going for a walk in nature is something that's really important to you, which I know is important to many of you, speak to Work+Stay about it, and they won't put you in the middle of nowhere. They will specifically try and find a location that you're going to feel happy in.
Yeah, we do a lot of screening. Like we make sure that it's a right fit for the candidate and a right fit for the employer.
Absolutely.
But like in Tamworth, there's a university campus.
Tamworth is huge.
And Armidale, there's a whole university. Like there's a conservatorium of music in Tamworth. There's a conservatorium of music in Armidale. The regions, it's not just a big farm. Absolutely. It really isn't.
And I think it's important for that education to get out there. Now, I will be honest, like, I miss Sydney. Like, I do miss parts of Sydney. I would never live there again. It's just too busy for me. But I miss, the vibrancy of it and the choice of it. But there's so much to do here. You've got hiking groups, running groups, multicultural groups, parents groups. You've got bars with music. You've got so much here.
And that's Maitland, which most people think of Maitland and they go, "Oh, there's a jail out there."
Nah.
That's what no, but you know what I mean? Like in the city.
That's place now. Sorry. It's a tourist location now.
It is a tourist. That's what I mean. The regions are rising now. Like they're really changing. Mudgee has got a hatted restaurant. They've got there's some amazing places.
Absolutely. So I guess what we're saying is be open-minded and ask questions. Ask questions about it. And the worst thing that could happen is you register with Work+Stay, have a chat with them, and then you say, no, you know what, I really want to focus on Melbourne for now,
Yeah.
But be open-minded. In the job market right now, being open-minded is really, really important. But yeah, I just wanted to say that. So
yeah, and we are recruiting into New South Wales, regional New South Wales, regional Victoria, and regional Queensland as well.
yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
And one quick thing I want to ask though is a lot of people, because obviously there's a regional visa, and a lot of people will go to Adelaide or the Gold Coast because it's technically regional area, but they still have the job issues, the challenges of getting the job,
and the housing issues because of
the housing issues huge, worse than other places. What would you say to that perception of just moving to the Gold Coast is moving to a regional area?
Yeah, I mean, it is classed as a regional area, but you're going to be in a really competitive area. And I just know from the experience of our candidates, there's a lot of them that now just would never leave. They love it. They love the fact that not 80% of their wage is going on rent.
Yeah,
that's a huge thing for them. And I don't know. They just it's just there's something to be said for having a beautiful environment around you and not living in the rat race. You might be somebody that loves the rat race. There are people out there, and that's completely fine. And you should absolutely stay in the city. But I think, if you've worked really hard to get here, and you've got qualifications and you want to start using them, then you need to start looking at the regions, because that's where there's a less competitive job market.
Yeah.
And they need you.
And it doesn't have to be forever, right? It can be for
years.
We are looking at moving closer to Sydney, not Sydney, still kind of a regional area, which is that little bit closer. And we would never have been able to do that unless we'd been here for the 5 to 6
So even then, you're 2 hours away from Sydney.
Yeah,
like, I'm in Western Sydney.
Yeah, for sure.
On a bad traffic day, I'm like an hour and a half out of Sydney.
That's what our friends, so we have a friend who comes to visit us quite often, and he says that it takes the same time to get from Northern Sydney to Maitland than it does to get from Northern Sydney to work sometimes, just because of the traffic is. So it's nothing to get here. We go to Sydney for the day on Saturday just to see the Christmas lights and come back. So yeah, it's really not. It's
doable. Yeah, and look, in places like, for example, in Casino, which is sort of up in, I think it's still New South Wales, up near the Northern Rivers area. Casino, you're 40 minutes. It's a small regional town, but you're 40 minutes from Evans Head Beach.
Yeah,
it's a way better beach than the beaches I've got access to, and it will take me much longer than 40 minutes to get there.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think what we're trying to say here, guys, is just be open-minded.
Consider the regions.
And we say this not because we're trying to sell you something. This isn't like a sales pitch, No. I'm not selling you a course here or anything like that. We are selling you opportunity to actually do what you want to do.
And we would never put somebody, we would never drag anyone kicking and screaming into a role, because it just would fall over straight away. And it's about you need to want to go and do that. But if you do, the support is there.
Absolutely. So is there anything else you'd like to say? Have I missed any questions?
No, I just thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate you accommodating me, and also the reschedule. So thank you. And I just want to give you a bit of props, Natalie, because you're tireless and the space you're working on is amazing. And you're really quite an innovator. I feel you're quite an innovator, especially with your digital strategy. It's amazing.
Thank you. I just try things. And I guess that's the same for the region. I just try things. And, sometimes it doesn't work, and that's fine. So I guess that's a lesson there for everyone. Give it a go. Sometimes fail, sometimes be happy. We'll see. But thank you. I sincerely appreciate that, because sometimes I feel, I'm just talking to myself. So I really, really appreciate that. This will be available for replay on LinkedIn, but also on my website really soon. And all of the information from Work+Stay will be there. I might even see if Merenia can give us the links to the jobs that are available, so you can see the different jobs available.
If you go to our website, which is workandstay.com.au, you can have a look at our available roles.
Perfect.
There's a job seeker page. You can browse the available roles. Not every role is up there, not every role, but there's a good selection.
Perfect.
Also, you can apply to our jobs on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah. And is there profiles of the areas as well? Can people read about the areas or some of them?
You can. Not on our website at the moment, but you can go to, there's a website called movetomore.com.au. Have a look at Move to More. You get a little idea. It gives you a breakdown of every community.
Perfect. So I'll add that to the page with you guys so that people can have a little think about it and a research. And I might reach out to you and find out some of the main locations that you're recruiting for right now as well.
Yeah, and if you have a look at my profile on LinkedIn, I've done some little pieces on different communities at the moment, and I always put the links to each community so you can have a look.
Perfect. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. And if anyone has any questions about, moving to regional Australia, whether it's the right move for you, any questions whatsoever, you can comment on the replay. You can reach out to me, or I'm absolutely sure Merenia wouldn't mind if you reach out to her. You are really busy and you're on holiday now.
I am on holidays now. I'll be back. I'll be back on the 8th of Jan. And Work and Stay, I think it goes on hiatus. It goes on a bit of a break from this Friday through to the 8th of January.
Perfect. So if it's an urgent question, ask me, and if I can't answer, then we will ask Merenia in the future.
Excellent.
Just bear that in mind for that for now. But thank you so much, and thanks for doing this on your holiday as well.
No worries.
Wonderful break. You deserve it.
Okay. Thanks, Natalie.
See you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.